It is a pleasure to introduce Cathy McNorgan, and I'm sure after lunch we will all benefit with a little physical fitness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here. Before I became a physiotherapist, I worked in the fitness field for about 12 years. And there I was really trying to encourage people to be active, to move, to do some exercise. Come on, let's come to class, or one-to-one. Exercise was very important. Then I became a physiotherapist. It became even more important. But I was working with a different population, people who had different disorders, different diseases, injuries. And yet the bottom line, again, is still exercise. So today we're looking at urban polling and Parkinson's. The question is often asked, who, me? Am I supposed to exercise? Yes, we all need to. Old, young, healthy, unhealthy, more healthy. We do not stop exercising because we grow old. We grow old because we stop exercising. That was Kenneth Cooper. I really believe this. Look how much energy the kids have. Are we down on the floor playing with them? Why not? Some of us still are. Some of us try. Some of us adapt it and do as much as we can to be active. These are some fit facts taken from the Journal of Active Aging. This was the last issue. And it talks about rationales as to why we should be active. Exercise to boost brain power. Increases, oh, that should be blood flow to the brain, and promotes growth of new neurons. Better move on. Exercise to feel happier. It releases endorphins in the brain and creates feelings of happiness. As we go through these, think of some of your symptoms, those of you who have Parkinson's. Exercise to feel calm and peaceful. It's a great stress reliever. Exercise to stay on your feet. It reduces the risk of falls as it strengthens your muscles and improves posture and balance. Exercise for more energy in your day. Done regularly, it can help increase your endurance and your stamina. Exercise for a good night's sleep. It can help you fall asleep faster and you can sleep more deeply. Usually it's preferable to exercise at least 3 hours before you go to bed, not just before you go. Exercise to get stronger, carrying groceries, climbing stairs, getting out of chairs. Exercise to stay independent. Increase your stamina, your strength, so you can walk down the hall to the bathroom. You can take a shower independently. My goodness, we have more. Exercise to decrease joint pain. Exercise to live healthier for longer. Exercise to improve self-confidence. Exercise to sharpen your memory. Exercise to maintain a healthy weight. Exercise for your heart and your lungs. Exercise to strengthen your bones. Exercise to improve posture. Need I go on? Exercise to increase your flexibility. You move more freely. Exercise to improve your blood pressure. Moderate aerobic exercise can help lower blood pressure. And I'm sure there's lots more I could get through. Exercise to help with constipation. We seem to talk a bit about that this morning. People say, well, what should I do? What should I exercise? Should I do strength stuff? What do I need to do? I don't like exercise. So walking is something most of us do. It comes naturally. It's not a sport. We don't need to have a skill at it. And it gets us from point A to point B. I think I am too far. Some of us take better care of our animals, like dogs, than we do of ourselves sometimes. We take the dog for a walk. We take it to its regular checkups. We make sure it has good food. Are we doing the same for us? Should we perhaps be saying, oh, the dog's going to take me for a walk? If you're not walking the dog, do you still go for a walk? Have you ever considered walking with poles? And that's sort of why I'm here today. It's called urban polling. It's also called Nordic walking. And it combines aerobic and strength building benefits of cross-country skiing with walking. So basically it started back in the Scandinavian countries as a summer training for the Finnish cross-country skiing and biathlon teams. So when it was off season, they would put rollerblades on and use poles. And so they were using it as training. In around 1988, Tom Rutland, he took these poles and put it into the fitness. And so he developed a unique technique of walking using the fitness poles, but without anything on the feet. So it was just with walking. It's very popular in the Scandinavian countries. I don't know, those of you who travel. You see a lot of walking poles. And it's come to the States, and it's come to Canada. It's been, at more than 10 years, probably 15 or 20. And there's a variety of poles out there. Just like when you're buying a car, there's all these makes and models and, you know, what has what you want, what features you want. Same as when you're buying a walker. There's lots of makes and models. What features do you want? I've tried out quite a few. The ones I prefer are the ones made by Urban Polling. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm also one of their master trainers. And you'll see, I'll explain why I like these. But if you have a different set of poles, that's okay, as long as you get out there and walk. What's the difference between just normal walking and walking with poles? If I'm walking normally, I'm only using muscles from the waist down. So those are the blue ones on your screen, which are very difficult to read, so don't bother. It's just basically from here down. The legs are doing the walking. Okay, the arms are swinging along, having a great time. But now you add poles. This is a small stage. You add poles. Better get my rights and lefts together. We're now adding some upper body. We're now using about 90% of our body muscles. So you'll notice the head is in yellow. That's about the only thing that's not being used. So if you walk and turn your head and do a lot of facial and do lots of talking, you might get a few more. But we're looking at using 90%. What else do poles help with? Core strengthening. As soon as I push down through this handle, my core comes on. So if you can try, you're sitting in your chair there. Those of you who are table beside you, put your hands on top of the table. Put your hands on top of the table. If you're facing me and don't have a table, put your hands on the seat of your chair. Easy. Okay, now push with both of them. Let go. Push. Let go. Now, notice what's happening in your trunk muscles this time. Push. Did they come on? And let go. Your stomach muscles went off. Push. Let go. Does it work? Basically what they're saying is if you were to walk a mile, there'd probably be approximately 1,800 contractions of your core, stomach muscles, 900 on each side. That's a lot of core training by adding some poles. The stronger our core is, the more efficient our limbs are, our arms and legs. So if our core is nice and stable, I can reach for things, I'm not falling over, I walk better, I control myself better because this is strong. Just a little bit of research. A study was conducted at Veterans Affairs Hospital. They found that pole walking had a significant effect on the exercise tolerance of individuals with Parkinson's disease. So we were talking this morning. You get tired sooner. Fatigue is an issue. You can increase your stamina and your endurance with pole walking. Now, this next one, this is Bill Trevin from Moncton, New Brunswick. He has Parkinson's. Walking, he didn't run. He has done 22 half marathons and 2 full marathons using walking poles. Now, that's the exception to the rule, right? Most of you here are not going to be doing that. But he couldn't do it without the poles. We talked this morning about mood. Research shows improved mood, less fatigue, decreased depression and anger compared to walking without the poles. Nordic walking increased patients' physical ability and improved their mood. There was a study in 2006 that concluded that walking poles provided increased gait stability, so you're more stable when you're walking at both your normal speed and at fast speeds. Looking at posture stability and balance, a study was done in Santa Barbara retirement community that suggested that poling improves stability, mobility, and posture for older adults. Gait speed, so that's how fast you're walking. One study showed increased gait speed of 106% compared to just walking without the poles. And part of that is as you push on the poles, depending which technique we're using, you're pushing, you're propelling. You push and propel. So you're going to walk faster. Improved stride length. Now, I haven't seen much research on this, but I was involved in a local study here. Mark Unwin, this is probably 6 years ago now. He was a 4th-year kinesiology and physical education student at Wilfrid Laurier University here in Waterloo. He was volunteering at Lanark Heights Long-Term Care, where I was working, helping us out with our balance classes. And he did his undergraduate's thesis study on examining the effects of a Nordic walking program, so that's using poles, on elderly individuals residing in long-term care facility. I basically wanted to see, are these poles, like, is it worthwhile taking the time to do the poles with people in long-term care? So this was not a rigorous research, but results showed, so this is the RAND SF36. It's a health survey, so it's a questionnaire. He asked them particular questions. It showed an increased mean score for perceived physical functioning. They felt that they were able to function better. There was, though, a decreased mean score in the perceived social functioning. And you know what? The post-test was done a week before Christmas. So in terms of social stuff, in long-term care, that probably wasn't the best time to do the study at that point. He also looked at the seniors' fitness test. And what he saw was an increase in the 30-second chair stand. So that's a test where they're sitting in the chair and they have to stand up. How many times they can stand up in 30 seconds. So that increased by 2. He looked at the back scratch. So how far apart the fingers are on their back. Started at 8 inches apart, got down to 6 inches apart. The sit and reach. It also improves. So again, it's flexibility. Sorry, you guys can't see. I'm sitting down, the legs out straight, and it's how close to my toes can I get? Okay, that improved by an inch, I think. Yes. And this was a 7-week program, 8-week program. They were seen twice a week. They walked up to 10 minutes. They could walk as long as they wanted, however fatigued they were. Up to 10 minutes max, twice a week. I think it was 8 weeks. Berg Balance Scale. So that's 14 tasks, various tasks that we often use for balance. A score of 45 out of 56 is usually the point where they're independent for safe ambulation. So he found that the mean score went from 43 to 46. So it went over that 45. More of, they were tending to be a little more independent. The biggest improvements were seen in the functional reach. So you stand your arm out and you have to lean forward. So how many inches can they lean forward? And then the standing on one leg. How long could they stand on the one leg? Those two things showed improvements. Grip strength, he was thinking that because they're hanging on to poles, maybe the grip strength would increase. He saw no change. Now, remember, this was 7 people, okay, over an 8-week period. But it gave me the impression that, yes, this is worth doing. Next is a slide of a gentleman who had Parkinson's. He was part of this study. So it's going to run through twice. He's going to walk in with a walker, okay, and then you'll see him do it again. So I want you to look at his step. So what are his feet doing? What are his arms doing? What's his posture like? So you'll get to see it twice. And then he's going to come through with walking poles and see what the difference is. Hear the feet. So we would call this a shuffle step. He's weight bearing, he's leaning forward onto his walker. Lean forward, so the posture. Here he is with the poles. Much longer step. He's much more upright. And more of a heel-toe strike. Some people don't like the image of a walker. No, I don't need one. No. They see it as a disability. On a side note, not to do with poles, but I certainly see it as an ability. If they don't have the walker, they cannot walk well at all, and therefore don't walk. But if they have the walker, they feel safer, it helps with their balance, and therefore they walk. To me, I'd like to see people see it as an ability, not a disability. People see it as a disability. They often see the poles as an ability because they've seen people out. Was that a question? Yes, and we're going to talk about that. Yes, exactly. You're right. With the walker, I've had when I was working in the community. I had a gentleman in a seniors apartment building, and there were quite a few people that were in a walking group with poles. So they would go out 2-3 times a week with poles. Why did he not feel comfortable going out with them with his walker? He didn't. He wanted to walk with poles. I said, okay, let's give it a try. After, I would say within 3 weeks, he was safe enough to use the poles outdoors, uneven terrain, right? Because they were walking outdoors with the poles. And he felt this was an ability for him. He still needed something, but he was safe, and for him, it felt good. Other benefits, sort of reported or observed, and here comes to your point. Walkers. Often see people when they walk. As physios and OTs, we think more than once about giving somebody a walker. Oh, their balance is poor, get them a walker. And it's like, oh, no, because what do you see when you give them a walker? I noticed quite a few of you here with a walker were walking very well, very upright, like the picture on the far end. Okay, the walker is not meant to weight bear, because what happens is then our shoulders are taking the weight bearing instead of our legs. So if I'm weight bearing through my arms, legs do less, they get weaker and weaker, and then I have trouble standing up because my legs aren't being used. Walkers are for balance, for the most part. They're to make sure that I'm not falling over. Okay, they're not to weight bear through our shoulders. And then people get sore shoulders. And you sort of go, get the weight back on your feet.
Isn't the design of the walker such that you're forced to put your weight down?
No.
Why can't the handles be higher?
Usually, this one's actually a little too short for me. Usually the handles are at the wrist height, so that when your hands are on here, there's a 30-degree angle on here. We need to walk close. We need to walk close to this. These handles should be, the handles need to be close to the hips. I watched a few of you today at lunch walking very nicely, close to the walker and upright. But that takes training, because this is easier to do. Just feels easier. I don't have to work as hard. Okay? So if you are walking with a walker, stay upright. Keep the weight on your feet. Keep your leg muscles, especially these butt muscles, working. Because if they don't, then you have trouble getting up out of a chair. Take some poles, and I'm now upright. It's also a better wrist position this way than like this on the walker. Make sense? I'm up here. I'm upright. So urban polling has, well, there's a couple type of poles. Poles that you typically see for fitness. And you see people walking like that. Long strides and the poles go behind them. Okay? Fitness type. That's what I do when I walk with the poles. Urban polling has also made an activator pole. This one here. It was designed by an occupational therapist. She was using the regular poles, really liked them, saw the benefits. It's 90% of my body muscles being used. But she was also working with a geriatric population, an older population, who had balance and stability issues, that these weren't quite safe enough for them. So she designed one that would look like a cane in terms of how it adjusts. So you see it's a button lock system. So the picture on the left. So it adjusts like a cane. You push the button in and you shorten and you lengthen it. It also has a tip. So what you see on the right of your screen, we call it a bell-shaped tip. So it's much bigger than the tips on the other poles. And it's used differently. It's used in front. It's giving me the stability, sorry. It's giving me the stability out here. The poles aren't back here because my balance is a bit off. The poles are up front here, and they stay up front as I walk. So I can use them for balance. I don't have to push hard through them, but the harder I push, the more core I work. But then I have some people, I give them these, and they say, oh no, I feel like I'm going all over the place. It's because their core is poor, because when I go to push down on this side, I'm sort of pushing, and therefore if my core is weak, I feel like it's pushing me over. All of urban polling poles have this ergonomic handle, which is one big thing that I really like. It's a big handle. Some of the poles I've gotten, say at Canadian Tire, it's a small cork type handle, which means you have to grip it tightly or you're going to drop it. And for people with arthritis, sometimes it's very difficult to hold it in tight. So these are ergonomic handles. There's a lip on the bottom, as you can see on the picture on the right. There's a lip. So you don't have to hold tight because your hand's not going to fall down. It's going to get caught on that lip. And then you just push through the outside of your hand to get a little bit more core going. There's a right and a left, though. This is often a problem because it has a little R and a little L. And for those of us whose eyesight is going, sometimes it's more difficult to see. So what I typically do is take a red nail polish, put it on the right one, just like your right hearing aid is red, the right is in here, so it's less hassle trying to see them. So the issue with these, there is a right and a left, but it's a nice comfortable grip with a lip on the outside. It's strapless. Most of the others all have a strap. They say it's supposed to be better in terms of if you fall, certainly those of you who skied and you fall, because the strap is attached, you fall on it and you get the fracture at the skier's thumb, we call it. So this doesn't have a strap, so typically it should fall. If you're going to fall, you just need to let go of it. These also have 3 anti-vibration features, the handle. There's a black part in here that you do not touch. Therapists who were also used to turning this part on the cane to shorten and adjust it, you don't touch these. This is for vibration, and the tips are also made to decrease the vibration, so less stress through the joints. So here I'm comparing on left side is the activator, right side is the urban pole. So the activator is the one with the button lock with the bell-shaped tip. The urban polling is a screw to lock, turning lock system. So you have to loosen them. And some of us don't have the grip to get it tight enough. So I left a pair with a client for a week, and I went back and I had one pole shorter than the other. He had taken them out and put them in the car and then had come back in and adjusted, and so they really need to be screwed tight. They have a boot tip. A boot tip bottom. Do you see that? It looks like a boot. Okay, that's the bottom. So it's less of a surface area than the activator one with the bell-shaped tip. So the fitness people use the one with the boot because they help push off. Bell-shaped for the people who need it for balance. The activator poles, the one on your left, they can hold up to 200 pounds of pressure going through them per pole. The other pole has about 90. Some of the ones that I've gotten at Canadian Tire, maybe 20 pounds. So it all depends on how much you want to be pushing through. And again, same thing. If you fall on a pole, just like if you're biking and you fall and you hit your head and you have to replace the helmet even though it's not cracked, same thing with the poles. If you fall on a pole, you should replace the poles. Most walking poles around, if you take the tip off, there's a carbide point. So you would use that in the snow, sand, anywhere where the tips are not going to be helpful. If we look at the technique, so for people in early stages of Parkinson's, for those of you who don't have Parkinson's, caregivers, family, therapists, doctors, everybody who's here would probably use the technique of urban polling. You put the right in the right, the left in the left. How do you adjust it? On these poles, it has your height on it. So where you turn it, you put it to your height. Usually we say 2 inches lower. Tighten it back up. Make sure the boot points backwards. Okay, I've seen a lot of people walking with poles and the boots are facing the same way your feet are facing. Don't ask me why. Well, you can't ask me why. But the boots are used to press off, to push off. So the boot is in contact with the ground. If you have a pole with no height on it, inches and well, how am I supposed to adjust the height? You put the tip behind your shoe, and we want a handshake grip. So I'm going to shake hands with you here. I have a straight arm out here. This is what I want. And it's opposite hand and knee, opposite hand and knee, opposite hand and leg as we walk. A little tight on here. Tips always stay back. You never see the tips as you walk through. Okay? Upright posture. Rarely do you see people walking like this with their poles. It just automatically puts them up. And for these poles, you plant, you put it on the ground, you push, and you propel. I do a 20-minute walk in the morning sometimes. I can take 2 minutes off if I use my poles because you're pushing off. Middle stages of Parkinson's, when your balance is starting to not be as good and you're not as safe, then you use the activator poles. Again, put the right in the right, the left in the left. Height adjustment is there at 90 degrees. Elbow is at 90 degrees. Okay? Poles stay upright and they always stay in front. Again, opposite hand and leg. For those of us who have no issue with balance, this feels weird. But for those of you who do have an issue, this is very helpful. Now, you see people walk like this. Not opposite arm and leg. So we want opposite arm and leg. It comes natural. That's what we normally do when we walk. It's opposite arm and leg. And so just do what comes naturally and you'll get the right arm and leg motion. All right, this video is very confusing. It was a clip that was sent to me. It's very busy. So I'm going to explain it first, and we'll probably watch it a few times. Start by looking at the person on the left. It's a woman who has Parkinson's who's walking. Check out her gait. So how is she walking? Is there any arm swing? What are her feet doing? Very short, quick snip. Don't bother reading the words on the other side. You won't have time. The next clip, focus on the left side. It's her walking again with the poles, okay? But at the same time, on this side is her walking without, so you'll be really distracted. We'll watch it a few times. First, look on the left, then look on the right, and then the next one, she's coming towards you, no poles and poles. Did you pick up some difference? Do you want to see it again? So no arm swing, small steps. Much larger steps, arm swings. So you can see the improvement that the poles have done. Now we're back to that other video that I showed you of the man. You're going to watch the second half of it with him walking with the poles. This time, last time I had you focus on his feet and his posture. This time, focus on his arms. You'll see that they're not moving as well as this woman's was. So I think you can see some of the benefits that poles can do. Now for him, arms weren't moving, and that's often something that we work on. But for him to get the bigger steps, to get him upright, then the next thing I would work on would be the arms and the shoulders, to get the arms moving. So yes, we can use the poles for walking, but we can also use them for exercises. In sitting, we can do flexibility stuff. I mean, she's got her arms up or out to the side. You can use the pole. Typically, in whatever class you're running, you can just add the pole in. For some strength stuff, one of my favorites is I'm sitting down and your foot, you bring your toes up. Okay, I'm going to do it in standing. I put this on my toe and I pull my toe up at the same time I'm pushing down with the pole. So it's a strengthening exercise of my ankles. This muscle in particular, the one that pulls your toe up, is very important in terms of balance. If I'm standing here and I tend to lose my balance backwards, my first reaction is an ankle reaction which pulls me forward. And those were the muscles at the ankle. Same ones that pull your toes up and down. This is just a reverse action. Very important ones. So this way, it's hard to strengthen them unless you put weights on them and then you lift your toes up and they fall off. I find with the poles it's great. You just push and add as much resistance as you want. Standing balance. I tend to do a lot. I know there's some therapists here. You can do flexibility. What's my best one? Calf stretch. So you can't see. We tend to do it on the wall. You can do it with the poles. A little less stable with poles. You can do strengthening. Poles help the stability. I now have 4 points on the ground. Now I'm going to go down to 3 and do some strengthening of the legs, of the outside hip. Okay, this is a little less stable than if I was standing at the counter and holding on, because the counter won't move. If I start to lose my balance, I just pull on it and I know it's not going to move. But if I'm holding on to 2 poles and I start to lose my balance, I have to challenge it. I have to figure out, I better come back to where I feel better. So sometimes a therapist will then do, okay, let's move into balance, standing on one leg. Okay, the safest is to hang on and stand on one leg. Then we would progress to 2 poles, stand on one leg. Better change. And then I would take off this one, because now I have still a wide base, because it's on the opposite side. To make it even harder, I would do the pole on the same side, because now I have a smaller base of support. And then obviously put them both up, but I have them there ready to help. And so we can do a lot of exercises with poles. So we don't use them just for walking. We also use them for exercise. Can be done in groups. Some people don't like to walk in groups. Some people prefer to go out on their own or with 2 people. And I've overheard comments, I don't need the poles yet. I use poles. It increases the amount of muscles I'm using when I'm out walking. So I can get my heart rate up a little bit higher. I sweat quicker. Sometimes some of us can't walk fast enough to get up a good sweat. Now you add a few more muscles on here, you do. So I find it's for fitness, for those who have good balance. And then you start using it so that you're able to walk in an upright position, still challenging your balance. So we use it for lots of reasons. I notice that people sometimes have a hard time getting out of the chair. So it's time to go exercise. Yeah, I should go for a walk. Yeah, but I got to get out of this comfy chair. And I know for some it's quite a struggle to get out of the chair. So I just want to spend 2 minutes. It has nothing to do with poles, but in terms of if you're going to get up to go walk with your poles or do something with your poles, let's see if you can get up easier. 4 things, if you can remember. When we stand up, what we do is we take our center of gravity which is usually at our butt. We balance it over our base of support, which is our feet. And then these front thigh muscles straighten the knee, hamstrings and glutes straighten the hip. Now that was a pretty okay, we don't do that. We do it nice and gracefully, and we go forward and up at the same time. A lot of people have trouble standing up, and where the problem is the coming forward. They get to here and they start going up, fall back, here and up. They need to come forward balanced on their feet and stand up. So you guys have been sitting for 45 minutes. Those of you who would like to, would you want to have a little bit of activity? Push your chair back so you have a little bit of room. And what I want you to do is just lean forward to the point where you're balanced on your feet. So just be far away from the table so you don't hit your head. Okay, and then back down. Now it's hard because there's no arms, so just make sure you land on the chair, please. All right, go again, just to the point, don't go up, just to the sweet point, I call it. There's where you're balanced on your feet. Now stand up. Not an issue. Now to sit down, you have to squat first and then go back. So often some of us fall back onto our chairs, right? We just start going down and then poof, down we go. Oh, thank goodness I made it. Okay, so to get up, go forward and up. To sit down, bend down, stick your butt out, nice and controlled. The last little bit is a fall onto the chair. Now, is it easier to get up from the front of the chair or the back of the chair? Front, let's try it. Sit at the front. Arms across your chest if you can. You have no arms. If you need the arms of the chair, use it. For those of you who don't, stand up. So, stand up. Pretty easy. Sit back down. Weight to the back. Okay, stand up. Ooh, yeah. A lot harder, right? Okay, why is it harder? Have a seat. It's harder because your center of gravity is much further back from your feet. So the further back you are from your feet, the more oomph you got to put to get forward balanced on your feet. Make sense? Okay. Sit in the middle of your chair. Now take your heels and bring them behind your knees. So closer to under the chair. So they're a couple inches behind your knees. And stand up. Pretty easy. Sit back down. Move your feet 2 inches forward. Your knees are at 90 degrees, so your heels are right under your knees. Now try standing up. Okay, that was a little harder. Sit back down. That was only 2 inches. But look at how much more effort it took you to get up. Okay? So 2 things to make it easier to get up, which would be what? Get to the front of the chair. So there's a few ways to get to the front of the chair. Yes, you can pop up. You can wiggle up, which is really nice. Or you can slide up. As long as you get there. Makes it easier, then make sure your feet are tucked in. Okay, heels need to be on the floor, so you're not way underneath the chair. Heels on the floor. Next thing we do, where do we usually put our hands? If you have the arms of the chair, it's probably most of us would put our arms on the chair. If we have a walker in front of us, where do we tend to put our hands? Okay, and then I'm pulling myself up, which is not normal movement. Okay, so we should push ourselves up. Now the other thing is we always, caregivers and those of us who are trying to help say, well, stand up. Up. Okay, I'm going up. I'm going up. What should we say? Go forward and up. Okay, so 4 things. If somebody's having trouble getting up out of the chair, first one is get to the front of the chair. Second one is tuck those feet. Third one is put your hands on the arms of the chair. Fourth one is lean forward and up. Now, some of you have stood 16 times. There was your exercise. Very good. So, whoops. So just do it. Get out there, walk, exercise, do something, with or without the poles. Poles add more. They help with posture. They help with mood. They help with stride length, with balance. Lots of those things that we looked at and we talked about this morning. I know we're talking medication this morning. I'm talking exercise. It came out. Dr. Jog again this morning said, benefits of exercise for mood and depression and anxiety. Yes, I'm here to talk about poles, but get out there, with or without the poles. Use the technique that's appropriate for you. The arms back here, the urban poling, or the arms out here. Most of these poles, you can change the tips on them. So I preferably, when I purchase poles, I get the one with the button lock, and then for me, I just change the tip to the boot tip. This is much easier. For me, I have trouble unscrewing it and screwing it, and so I just get the Activator one and change the tips. Locally, in terms of if you want help with how to walk, the Waterloo 55 Club, the Rotary Adult Center there on Dutton in Waterloo, they have walking groups. The Rim Park offers walking groups. The YMCA has walking groups, both Kitchener and Cambridge. I'm not sure about Waterloo. And last quote, if you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live? And exercise is medicine for creating positive change in the body and the brain. Any questions? Yes?
How do you get people to take longer strides?
They need to be balanced first. And if they're balanced, then we ask them to, I find if I tell them to put the heel down first, automatically, if I go to put my heel down, I have taken a bigger step than going like this. So I often say heel first. But they need to have a good core, because what you're doing to take a bigger step is you're spending more time on that one leg, and if you're not well balanced, you're not going to take a big step. That's why you're taking little ones, to stay in your comfort zone of balance. If you have poles, you'll take a bigger step because you feel more balanced. You have 3 points on the ground now instead of 1. And so you'll train your balance a bit, which will relate to when you don't have the poles, you may still take bigger steps. That answer? You're welcome. Yes? 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 Can people hear? Do we have those mics again?
I'm having. Where is it?
Right here.
Who's speaking? Oh. See?
I've been using the Activator Poles for a year now. And the gentleman here asked about, does it increase your stride or can it increase your stride? Yes, it does. You can use the Activator Poles to change your stride. You can use them for leg lifts. You can use them for walking sideways, all kinds of squats. The number of benefits that I've received from using the Activator Poles over the past year has been a godsend for me. Because as I was told at the beginning, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I found that so true. I was a person who was not into exercise. Believe me, you couldn't get me to walk around the block. But I love using the Activator Poles. I'm able to do all kinds of activities now, including breathing. They force you into breathing. It opens up your lungs, and it just makes you feel so much better. So I can't speak highly enough for them.
Yep. Also, if you use it, you keep it. Any other questions? There's a woman back there.
They're called urban poles.
Yes.
What implication does that have if you live in the country?
I didn't get it.
Well, I don't live in an urban area,
Oh, no.
I live in a rural area.
Yes.
So it's
why?
rough, sometimes gravel in the winter, icy laneway, and maybe a cleared road.
Mandy, who owns the company, says it's all 4 seasons. So yes, you can use it in the snow. There are snow baskets that you would see like on typical ski poles, you know, that little round thing at the bottom. They have those. They also have a smaller fitness, a trekking basket, they call it. So if you're out hiking in stones, the pole won't go way down. It'll stop where that trekking basket is. If it's slippery, it doesn't matter what kind of pole you use, it's not safe. So ice, no. Gravel, yes. But, you know, I'm walking and I'm on pavement and there's construction happening, so there's dirt, and you're doing a push on a dirt, and it goes. So you have to be careful during those times. You need to watch the terrain. But yes, outdoors, so often we take the tips right off. If you're out in the country, grass, gravel, you take the tips off, you have that carbide tip, sharper tip at the end. It does as well. Thank you. Any other question?
Just a comment, that is, when the ground is unsafe, when you've got ice,
Yep.
the icers work very, very well. This is the traction that
Yes.
you can grab on your,
Yes.
get them at Valley Tools, Canadian Tire. They're absolutely indispensable.
Can people hear that? Can you have the mic? Thanks.
So I was just mentioning that when there's ice on the ground, it really helps to have strap-on icers for your feet. And these are sold at Lee Valley Tools and Canadian Tire. They have carbide steel studs that stick right down into the ice or snow, and they're absolutely indispensable. I'm sure they've saved me many a fracture over the years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Anything else? Great.
Okay, I'd like to call up Dee Precious Brown just to come up and do a thank you. And then we picked Dee to come up and do this, so for a reason. Is that she just did?
Just to demonstrate, without my pole, I couldn't get up here. So Cathy. I am thrilled that you're here talking about poles because they've been life-changing, and I'm glad you're covering body, mind, and you didn't mention the word spirit.
Here,
You didn't
I'll come
mention the
closer.
word spirit, but I can't talk enough about them. I did learn that I've been using them wrong a little bit, but how has it changed my life? I never thought I could go for a stroll or a hike with my grandkids. When I got these, I'm in the woods, and you're right, you have to be careful when the terrain is different, but it makes such a difference. For our 10th anniversary last month, my husband and I were able to go to Old Quebec City, and the road goes up and the road goes down, and I walked 2 hours. I was amazed. It's incredible. So you got to make sure you're safe. Use your common sense, but try them because they make a difference, a huge difference. So Cathy, on behalf of all of us and for the Parkinson's Society, I want to thank you for your time, your energy, your passion, your humor. And there's one thing that's on my bucket list that I'd like you and I to do together. I've always wanted to pole dance.
Okay.
So, but for the gentleman that asked about the big strides, because I love that you covered that it's an ability and a disability. Because when I was walking with my walker, it didn't work for me because my feet wouldn't work the way I wanted them to. With the walker, what would happen is the feet would stay here and the body would go like this. And even if I had to brake, I couldn't get anywhere. Now with my poles, I can take the public bus because not all buses have seats to sit on. But with my poles, I can wait. I can wait. Oh, what else? I wanted to say so many things, but it's just been life-changing. And to think big, because that's what we want to do, is we want to stand tall. When people see me with my cane, they don't make eye contact or they don't say hi. Now everybody's saying, hey, where's the snow? But I do want to show you how the strides can make such a difference. Do I have a minute? They cost about $100 and it's the best investment you'll make in your lifetime. So without the poles, I walk. This is good. I'm doing good. You can clap anytime. My hand is shaking and I can't get that going. I get these poles, left and right, and watch the difference. Give me a second.
We're going to dance. We're going to dance one day. Thank you so much.
So Cathy, on behalf of all of us, I am thrilled, so thrilled to be able to present to you a little gift on behalf of all of us, and keep getting out there and spreading